Shalawama, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Mic check, mic check. Shalawama, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Shalawama, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. All right. So put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, y'all. We are in business. We are in business. Why don't I think we are in business? Shalom. I'm Dr. Yasapa. All right. So for whatever reason, y'all, my mic was cut on that other platform, but I'm going to start over. Since they didn't want anybody to hear it, there's no problem with my system. Since there was no problem with my system, clearly my mic was cut because it's working now. All right, I'm gonna go back and start from the beginning. Or if y'all can put, or if you don't want me to start from the beginning, tell me what was the last thing you heard. And then I'll start from there. Otherwise, I'm just going to start from the beginning. All right. But they are not going to stop me from putting this information out. I have no problem with my equipment, y'all. All right. No problem with my equipment. All right. So now let me go ahead and get started. Let me pull the screen up. Let's pull our screen up. And we'll get going. All right. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let's get this together. Let me just check. The difficulty is trying to check back and forth to see if everything is all right. You know, but let me just make sure we have an image. All right. The screen share is going. And I'm going to get started. All right, y'all. Those of you who came back, I appreciate you being here. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. All right. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. I'm just going to make it do what it do. All right. Excuse me. We're going to make it do what it do. Y'all bear with me. If there's a problem, put it in the chat. I'm not going to be able to post your comments right now because I'm using a different platform, okay? But continue to put your comments in the comments section, you know, just as though there was no problem. Roderick's point of view says, you may want to look into OBS Studio. Yeah, I will. Somebody mentioned that to me. Thank you, Roderick. Roderick's point of view says, did not hear anything from the previous live. Wow. It had no sound, but you're good now. Amazing. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to get started from the beginning, though. Is my screen clear? All right. So we got to start all the way back at the beginning of the chapter. But that's all right. That's all right. That is quite all right. That is quite all right. All right, so here we go. For those of you who are new, we are reading from the Devil's Pulpit. This is a compilation of sermons that were given in the early 1800s and compiled in book form in 1857. This presentation is not meant to cause you to change your religion or change anything about your belief system or about your life. The purpose of this presentation is to give you information that you can use, that you can criticize by asking questions and make decisions for yourself to either continue what you're doing, whatever that might be, or to stop doing what you're doing. But this is such a big topic, such an important topic. Everybody, Moors, including the house of Yasharallah, who are Moors, you must know this topic. Why? One, if you're following the Gospels, you must remember Exodus chapter 20, the first 3 or 4 verses says, don't bring another power before my face. So are you sure that the Christ figure is not another power? Or would you like to investigate it? That's the first. Also, that father in the gospel, is he also a new power, right? So are you violating the Most High's laws? Better check, better check. If you are amongst the Moorish groups or peoples, however you identify, whatever your organization, or I don't know, if you claim to be a Moor, Moors are historically the Sabian or Sabian, the Sabian or Sabians, okay? These are people who in history are said to have been masters of cosmology. And later in time, they began to worship the stars, including the moon. Some people say that's where Sabbath came from, right? So you want to know cosmology. It'll only help you, make you a better person, help you to express your higher self better, right? So we should all know this. When you look at the Christian art, it has within it all types of references to cosmology, astrology. People who know this stuff can see it. Prominently is the halo around the Christ figure's head, right, which is the sun, all right? And astrotheologically or astronomically, the Christ figure is the sun. So you must know this. This can only benefit you. This is not religion. This is not spookism or spiritism. This is science, philology, etymology, historical writings, okay? No spookism. Don't let the title of the book fool you. The title of the book is what the author, who is Robert Taylor, was branded for telling the secret society's secrets, which is the Gospels, is cosmology or astrology. So they called the author a devil or the devil's chaplain to scare people so that they would no longer listen to his sermons. Okay, but he took that name and smudged it in their face by calling this book, which exposes them, calling it the devil's pulpit. All right, so we are looking at science and not religion. So with that said, let's get into the book. But let me say this first. Y'all go to zionlawschool.org and check out the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath streaming course. Okay, it'll teach you all of these skills and more. And plus come to our Saturday class, Saturdays, 10 a.m. We changed the time. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time now. You can come for free. Make sure you read all of the information in the description. Register, come next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Won't cost you a thing, okay? All right, now let's get into it. We are looking at Mark chapter 9, verse 2 and 3. Mark chapter 9, verse 2 and 3. It reads, quote, "And after 6 days, JC, the Christ figure, taketh him Peter and James and John and leadeth them up into a high mountain, apart by themselves." All right, y'all got that? Apart by themselves, nobody else. "And he was transfigured before them, and his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them." Now, in East Africa, where Israel is, it's hot. It rarely ever snows. And when it does snow, it's slush or it's light. It has 2 seasons, hot and rainy, or dry and rainy, okay? Not 4 seasons where there's a winter where you would see heavy snow, full snow that is very white, very white. Slushy snow is a grayish color. This is a side point, but I wanted to point it out because remember, we are criticizing. We're being critical, okay? We are thinking analytically by asking questions. And there's no bad question if you have a intent to learn, okay? There is a bad question if your intention is to just cause trouble and disrupt. All right, let's get into the paragraph. The author writes, I have before preached and have published the discourse I preached on this fable of the Transfiguration of Christ, as it is called, the Metamorphosis. Understand, y'all, the author is saying that the Transfiguration is a metamorphosis, as it ought to be called. Well, he needs to prove that, right? He needs to prove it. Let's see if he can prove it or how he proves it. For it is the same nature as Ovid's Metamorphosis. Somebody be kind enough, please, to look up Ovid's Metamorphosis and put the link in the chat for everyone who comes behind us, who wants to learn. The word rendered, he was transfigured, is this Greek word right here, y'all. Okay, so now we're getting into the etymology. This is the expose. The word rendered, he was transfigured, is this Greek word here in both Matthew and Luke's gospel. So that Greek word is used in Matthew and Luke's gospel. As your own will admonish you, most literally. So in other words, the author is saying, you can look at this yourself and you'll see that the word literally, that Greek word literally means he was not trans, I'm sorry. It most literally means he was metamorphosized. Okay, he was metamorphosized. So why, this is my question, why did these translators render it he was transfigured instead of he was metamorphized? Well, let's see what the author says. Okay, he was metamorphized, that is, he was metamorphed into the Son. The Christ figure was metamorphed into the Son. And the drollery of it is, notice what the author is saying. The drollery of it is that his coat, his waistcoat, his breeches or his pants, and his shoes and his stockings, if he had any, were also metamorphed or metamorphosized. So not only was his physical body metamorphosized, but also his clothes were metamorphosized. And I've gotten to know this author's writing style, and I think he's making a joke out of this, because why would his clothes be metamorphosized, right? But anyway, let's continue. They also took part, that's the clothes, his clothes also partook of the divine beautification, which is a clear proof that the clothes we wear are as capable of immortality as ourselves. Y'all see the point? So the author is now being sarcastic, saying that when you Christians, when you become immortalized, which is your hope, your clothes are also going to be immortalized. So he's being sarcastic, kind of making fun of you. And when we rise again in glorified bodies, we shall rise at the same time in glorified apparel, glorified clothes, to cover our glorified bodies. Now, the interesting thing is, if you have a glorified body, why do you need glorified clothes? Y'all got that? This is just thought just came to my mind. Adam and Eve didn't put on covering until after they were disobedient, right? Why would you need clothes if your body is glorified? Interesting question. Remember, we're criticizing, we're thinking critically, asking questions. So if you have some questions you want to ask, go ahead and let me see if I can read. I don't know if I can, let me see. I'm going to try to, y'all give me 1 second, okay? I'm going to I can read the comments, but I can't post them. Let me open up another window, so at least I can read y'all comments as we go. So I think it's very interesting, this idea about glorified clothes, because you don't need them, right? You don't need glorified. At least I would think you don't need glorified clothes if your body is glorified. I think that's something, for me at least, that needs to be explained, or I need to understand why. Okay, maybe some of you all out there know why glorified clothes is necessary, right? But y'all can share it with me, because I don't have a clue why you need glorified clothes. All right, so Roderick's, oh, Roderick, I appreciate that. I can remote train you on OBS. I appreciate that, Roderick's point of view. All right, so yeah, I'm at least able, y'all, from time to time to go back and read the comments now. Okay, I got that squared away at least. All right, but I cannot post them at this point. All right, now let's continue with the reading. Like and share the video, please. Let's try to get more people in here than what we had last time. Let's try to make it grow. All right, so here we are. We're on page 194 if you have your PDF copy. The next sentence reads, we shall rise at the same time in glorified clothing to cover our glorified bodies. As St. Paul says, quote, not that we will be unclothed, end quote. Capital God forbid, quote, but that we would be clothed upon, end quote. All right, so the glorified body will be clothed in glorified clothing. There will be nobody at the marriage supper of the Lamb, but who will have the decency to appear in some sort of wedding garment. So again, so some sarcasm, right? That this author is very sarcastic. After all, then, it is really no such impiety as they would fain pretend it is to say that the gospel is altogether a bag of moonshine. For if this part of the gospel be literally true, and I am sure it is as true as any part of the gospel, it is evident that JC, the Christ figure, as he stood upon that Mount of Transfiguration, or as it is sometimes called the Holy Mount, was nothing more than a bag of sunshine. I think that bag of sunshine has two meanings. One, a bag of sunshine is nothing, right? It's just light. But the Christ figure is the sun. Y'all get it? Christ figure is the sun. Cosmologically, the Christ figure is the sun. So the author is saying that if you have a glorified body, you don't need glorified clothes. So this whole story doesn't make sense just based upon that one point alone. That's how I'm interpreting that. If you see it differently, put it in a comment, let us know. We'll read it all. The other thing I think is interesting about this paragraph, it says Holy Mount, but it doesn't say which mountain. Now, in video number 33 of the Astrotheology video, at the very end, we looked at the mountains in Israel, and we saw that one, I think it was Mount Hormon, is snow-capped, but it is not a bright white, okay? And Israel, it doesn't snow heavily in Israel. So if they do get a snow, it's a flurry. That's not going to be bright white, right? And if it's not a heavy snow, it's going to be a slush because it's hot there. And slush, again, is more on a grayish, dirty white color, right? So what's the difference? The sun is yellow the sun is yellowish, not white, okay? Snow becomes yellowish if a little boy or animal pees in it, right? Children do that. All right, but let's continue. So now we see this Greek sentence here, next paragraph. We see a Greek sentence here. The English reads, is the Greek text of Luke's version of the Metamorphosis, which reads, his face was turned into another. Y'all got that? The Christ figure's face was turned into another. Or if we prefer, the Greek of the Syro-Armenic codexes of Cambridge, it is this Greek word. Let me highlight that for y'all. Take a look at this Greek word right here, scholars. Now, look in here. I did not see this Greek word in here. If y'all see it, let me know. I don't see this Greek word here, so it's a different Greek word. But notice what it means, okay? So this Greek word in the Syro-Armenic Codex of Cambridge, which we see here, signifies that the Christ figure was sonified or turned into the sun. So in other words, the transfiguration literally means he was metamorphosized, right? But in the Syro-Armenic Codex of Cambridge, it uses a different Greek word, which means that the Christ figure was sonified or that he turned into the sun. The sun is yellow, snow is white. Why did they change this? What was their motive? What was their purpose? What was their purpose? Might the purpose be so that the masses would believe a theological story? But if someone was to ever find out the truth, they would have to be told by one of the secret society members that the gospel stories, all of them, are astrotheologic and that the Christ figure is a son. The author discussed this many, many videos ago. Let's continue. Let's continue. In other words, this is a form of mind control. Capture the imaginations, make the people believe what you want them to believe, and now the story has two meanings, right? Form of mind control. That would be a reasonable explanation, but you come up with your own explanations. Put it in the chat if you like. All right, let's continue with the reading. My discourse on this subject about the Transfiguration is published in the 4th volume of The Lion and is in the 24th number of that volume. I'm thinking that's the 24th page, y'all. To that, I refer the more curious inquirer, as it is not now my intention to treat the miracle of the Transfiguration. I'm going to see if I can get this 4th volume of The Lion. If I get it, I will present it. Okay, I'm going to try to get it. Let's continue. The narrative has only come in my way as bringing together the names of the 2 apostles, James and John, who with Peter were admitted to the exclusive privilege. Note that, y'all, James, John, and Peter, they were admitted exclusively. It was an exclusive privilege. That sounds a little bit strange, doesn't it? Why do they get something exclusive and the other apostles don't? Why do the masses get something, but the secret society members get something that's exclusively for them? Make the parallel, make the parallel. Make the parallel. All right. So James and John, who were with Peter, were admitted to the exclusive privilege of being introduced to this camera lucida. Somebody look up camera lucida, if you will, please, and paste the definition into the comment section. to which the Peter of the epistle is made to refer as the most positive evidence that could be adduced for the truth of the Christian religion. In other words, Peter is saying that this transfiguration that they had the exclusive privilege of seeing is the most powerful evidence that the Christ figure is real and that Christianity is the truth. To which the Peter of the epistle is made to refer as the most positive evidence that could be deduced for the truth of the Christian religion in these words, quote, "For we have not followed cunningly devised fables, when we made known unto you the power and coming of our capital L-O-R-D, J-C, the Christ figure. But we were eyewitnesses of his majesty." Note this, y'all. Note this. First, note that he says, "For we have not followed cunningly devised fables." Peter is saying we have not followed fairy tales, stories, right? That's his first point. When we made known unto you the power and the coming of our capital L-O-R-D, J-C, the Christ figure. Second point to focus on and hold in your brain. But we're eyewitnesses of his majesty. Peter is saying that he, James, and John were eyewitnesses. Okay, they're eyewitnesses. They didn't follow some fairy tale, but they saw it with their own eyes, according to the verse as we're reading it. Hold these thoughts in your mind. Let's continue. For he received from capital G-O-D, the Father, honor, that is, the Christ figure received from the Father honor and glory, when there came such a voice to him from the excellent glory, quote, "This is my beloved Son," S-O-N, "in whom I am well pleased," end quote. And this voice, which came from heaven, we heard. Peter is saying that he, James, and John heard the Father say, "This is my Son in whom I am well pleased." And this voice, which came from heaven, we heard when we were with him in the holy mount. What holy mount? What was the name of the mountain? What was the name of the mountain? And then why is this left vague? If this is the most powerful evidence, why didn't they give a specific name of the mountain? Okay, at least we can check and go and see what the climate is on the mountain, right? Anyway, that's a side point. Next paragraph reads, "I have only to remark in passing on this miracle of the transfiguration." Let me make sure, okay? "Of this miracle of the transfiguration of the Christ, that it is one among 10,000 proofs of the absolute truth and fidelity of the noble science which I have so long directed your researches." In other words, the author is saying, if you use the sciences that he discussed, philology, linguistics, etymology, textual context, history, specifically church father writings, architecture of the cathedrals, statues in the cathedrals, right, etc. Oh, mythology as it pertains to these stories, cosmology, learning how to create or learning which stars to connect so that you can draw the constellations, so that now it just doesn't look like a bunch of stars in the sky, but you can actually draw in the constellations and the zodiacs, right? Now it's no longer a wilderness, but you see the 12 constellations or the 12 zodiacs and all the stars. This is what the author is talking about, right? By his noble sciences, the master key that will enable you, or that will unlock what these gospels are really about, according to the author, which is astrotheology, cosmology. Let's continue. It supplies a ready answer to those who would revile me as the most absurd of men, as representing JC, the Christ figure, as being nothing more than the Son, S-U-N, that, quote, that is precisely as he, that's JC, represented himself. So the author is saying that the Christ figure represented himself, or said, or showed that he is the S-U-N Son. All right. What else is significant about the sentence that we just read? The author is saying that any religious Christian, any Christian who comes with the doctrine, okay, or maybe they're mad at you, or they're trying to preach that gospel to you, you can use these noble sciences to show that these stories are fairy tales. This is the benefit, according to the author. Why a benefit? Because Christianity has spread all over the world, and it has such a toxic effect on life and communities, families, and nations. Wherever it goes, it's destructive. Okay, this is the author's point. Next paragraph. The story of the metamorphosis, that is the transfiguration of Christ. Remember that one rendering that says it's more literal to translate it as metamorphosis, as the Son. Okay, he became the Son. Y'all remember that. The story of the metamorphosis, or the Christ becoming the Son, and of the part which Peter, James, and John bear in it, is called, and we see the Greek word sophistically translated, quote, eyewitnesses of his majesty. Eyewitnesses of his majesty. Now, is that a problem? Is that a problem? Eyewitnesses of his majesty. Let's continue, because this is a huge problem. The story of the metamorphosis of Christ, and of the part which Peter, James, and John bear in it, are called, and we see this Greek word, sophistically translated, right? Translated, that means a rendering from one language into another, as eyewitnesses of his majesty, end quote, can only pass for a part and parcel of a system, taking date subsequently to the reign of the Emperor Augustus. So now the author is putting us in a chronological time frame, right? On that stupid ignorance that would believe anything, he's talking about a Christian, and that stupid ignorance fortified by the maliciousness of a bad heart. Now notice this, y'all. Notice the effect of the bad heart, which purportedly bars off all access of better information. So the Christian doctrine that if you have a bad heart, you're not going to be able to understand. The Spirit is not going to let you have it, see it, right? All right, let's continue. And that stupid ignorance fortified by the maliciousness of a bad heart, which purportedly bars off all access to better information and strikes away the light of knowledge, lest it should shine into the unswept chamber of a fool's understanding. Focus intently on this paragraph. This is a key paragraph coming up. Key paragraph, here we are. Focus intently. Here we go. The whole affair is an uncovered, unconcealed exhibition of the most ancient ceremony or sacrament of the Eleusinian mysteries. So in other words, the transfiguration of the Christ, the metamorphosis of the Christ, the Christ becoming the Son is a plagiarized story, a plagiarized ceremony, sacrament of the Eleusinian mysteries. Y'all got that? They copied it. This is according to the author, not me. Let's continue. The same in all essentials of sameness, whether as celebrated in Egypt or Greece, to the honor of the Egyptian Isis, to the Egyptian deity Isis, or the Grecian Ceres deity, in which those of the initiated, who are the initiated? The initiated would be the secret society members, the priests, the rabbis, the moshes, the pastors, the imams, and whatever these black Hebrew, let me rephrase it, whatever these Hebrew Israelites call themselves, captains, generals, these initiated secret society members, those of the initiated, the priesthood, y'all, who were advanced to the highest degree, those of the secret society members, the priesthood, who were advanced to the highest degree was to see the ultimate scope and end of those mysteries. Y'all understand? First of all, you're dealing with one group of people. This would be the secret society members, the priesthood. Of the priesthood, there's a select group. These are the most advanced. They have achieved the highest level or the highest degree within the secret society. These members who reach the highest degree would be able to see the ultimate scope and the ultimate end of those mysteries. What mysteries? The Eleusinian mysteries. The Eleusinian mysteries. Okay? This is the equivalent of what? The transfiguration or the metamorphosis of the Christ figure. Let's continue. To whom, quote, it was given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, end quote. So now, again, the secret societies and those within the secret society who reach the highest level of degree, only these people who reach the highest level or the highest degree would be given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. Let's continue reading. Were perfect. So these people who reach the highest degree are said to be perfect. They are said to be perfect. Kind of like sounds like the elect, don't it? The author is not saying that. That's just a thought that came to my mind. These highest advanced degree secret society members, pastors, moshes, mores, are said to be perfect. That's why they get to know the ultimate scope and the end of the mysteries, why they're given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, and because they're perfect, and from the sight which had been afforded them, okay, in other words, they saw the ultimate scope, they saw the end of the mysteries, they saw the kingdom of heaven, right? And from the sight which had been afforded them, and we see that same Greek word here, which means, according to the author, seers, S-E-E-R-S, seers. Why? Because they saw the mysteries of the kingdom of the heavens. Or we see the next Greek word, right? We see the next Greek word here, or that is eyewitnesses. So these seers are eyewitnesses. They are perfect. right? They reached the highest degree in the secret society, okay? And they were given that special gift to see or to know the mysteries of heaven. Next sentence. As the site itself was called autopsy, AUTOPSY. Someone please look that up and put it in the chat for everyone else to know. That is the site itself and the showing of the site. The photagogy, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's spelled PHOTAGOGY. Someone please look up these words and put it in the chat, please. The photagogy, the octosy, AUTOPSY, and again, the photagogy, PHOTAGOGY. All right, which means bringing in the light. So what do all of these words have to do? They have to do with seeing light. Seeing light. What is light? Sunlight. Seeing sunlight. Right? Eyewitness. You saw the sunlight. Next paragraph. Next paragraph. And we should note too. Let's go here. Okay, y'all look at the highlight. Look at the highlight. Let's read this again. I want to draw your attention to something. I want to draw your attention to something. It reads, quote, we're going to read from 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 16 through 18, where the highlight is. For we, that's James, John, and Peter, for we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we were made known unto you. Okay? The power and coming of our capital Lord JC Christ figure, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? They're saying that they were eyewitnesses of his majesty. Well, we need to have proof that they were eyewitnesses, right? Let's continue with our reading. Let's see what the author shows us. Next paragraph. Let's see if they were really eyewitnesses. We're here now. At the highlight. All right, let's begin reading. Hence, St. Luke in his prefix can give no higher authority to his gospel than calling it a diegesis. This is a narrative. Somebody look it up on Google, please, and paste the definition of diegesis. Okay. Hence, St. Luke in his prefix can give no higher authority to his gospel than calling it a diegesis of things which had been told them, by those who had been autops, AUTOPS, and upper seats, UPEREETS, of the science. Did y'all catch that? Did you catch it? Did you catch it? St. Luke says in his prefix, can give no higher authority of his gospel than calling it a diegesis of the things which had been told them by those who had been autops and upper reats of the science. Now, is Christianity a science? Is Christianity a science, or is it a religion? Is cosmology a science? All right. So now Luke is saying that they were told these things by men who had reached the top level or the top degree. Let's continue reading. Which our deceitful translation renders eyewitnesses and ministers of the Lord, of the word. Y'all got that? Did y'all get that? The author says, which our deceitful translation renders eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. That's a big difference, right? Being an eyewitness and hearing something as hearsay are very big differences. So the translation is deceitful. The translation should have said that they were told these things by autops, men who reached the highest level within the society. Y'all see it? All right, let's continue. Now, a lot of Christians would make light of it. Okay, excuse it away. I understand that. But it is significant. Being an eyewitness and having something told to you by somebody else are very different things. Let us continue. He himself being one of the initiated, talking about Luke. Luke was one of the initiated, right? He was an apostle, but not advanced to the higher degree of an autop, A-U-T-O-P, or noble grand. Now we're talking about the ranking system in the secret society. An autop, or noble grand, or royal arch in this Freemasonry mystery. Y'all got that? The author is claiming that the Gospels are Freemasonry. It's a Freemasonry mystery. What's the mystery? The mystery is that the religious people believe that these stories are real, but when they are not real, in fact, they are cosmology. And any misunderstanding or confusion in the gospel is cleared up when you interpret them cosmologically. That's what the author is telling us. Let's continue. The secret was to be kept most profound as you find the myth, as you find the master. When he came down from the Mount of Vision, straightly charged the autotops, or autops rather. The autops would have been James, John, and Peter, right? Is that right? Yeah, let me go back. Yes, James, John, and Peter. These are the ones who reached the highest level, the autops. So let me go back and read it again. The secret was to be kept most profound as you find the master, that's JC, the Christ figure, when he came down from the Mount of Vision, straightly charged the autops, James, John, and Peter, or favorite disciples, that they should tell no man. In other words, it's a secret society, secret only the people who achieve the highest level or the highest degree could know the information. The initiated, that's all the other pastors, rabbis, imams, moshes, mores, Hebrew Israelite, generals, so on and so forth. The initiated, who had passed through all the inferior grades and attained the high rank of autops or eyewitnesses. Y'all got that? Did y'all get that? The initiated, who had passed through all the inferior grades and attained the high rank of autops or eyewitnesses, were called by the whole pagan world Israelites and Hebrews, Isis, Ra, and El, compound deities. Compound deities, Isis, Ra, and El, diegesis. Diegesis. The document, the Gospels, in its initial form was written, according to the author, by the Coptic Egyptians, Isis, Ra, and El. The Coptic Egyptians initially wrote the diegesis, which is the which is the initial gospels. Y'all make the connections. Make the connections. Correlate, correlate. Now let's continue because it gets even more interesting. The name of Israelites, Isis, Ra-El, Jews, Jews, or Hebrews, did never designate a political or national body. Israelites, Jews are not a nation. It is a religion. Correlate back to Deuteronomy chapter 29. The promised land was a burning waste. The house of Yasharallah is not Israel. The house of Yasharallah is a bloodline nation. Judaism, Jewish, is a religion that began during or shortly after Babylonian captivity. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, Jeremiah warns us that our ancient ancestors were writing lies into the law. They created religion. Make the correlation. Make the correlation. Israelites, Jewish, it's not our stuff. That is a religion. Anybody can join it, no matter what bloodline you're from, right? Anybody can join it. Whereas the house of Yasharallah, we are bloodline, okay? You're born into it. You are connected to a landmass, a common culture, common economy. Judaism, Jewishness is a religion. There is no common bloodline, right? Anybody can join it as long as you follow their ceremonial observances. Is it clear? Let's continue. The name of Israelites, Jews, or Hebrews did never designate a political or national body, but were the name which from an infinitely remote antiquity designated the, and we see this Greek word, okay, the Euperetes, the Atops or Autops, the Rechabites, the fanatics, the fantics, the lunatics, or whatever other ticks and bites might be used to signify the highest order of the initiated in those holy mysteries. Y'all got that? Do you have that? Secret society stuff, y'all stay away from it. Let them have their own stuff. Ours is the house of Yasharallah, okay? What's the verse in Psalms where it says that they conspired against us, right? So that no one would ever remember our nationality anymore. Y'all see it? Let's continue. And to whom alone were committed the oracles of capital G-O-D, who is Odin, who is Woden, so on and so forth. This is not an ancient deity, okay? This is the dramatic Woden, spelled in today's English G-O-D, but the same false power. As the name Jew, J-E-W, or Jew, J-E-U-E, is the identical name which we pronounce the Tetragrammaton. Y'all know the Tetragrammaton, right? Y-H-W-H. Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, that the Hebrew Israelites call on. Also Yahoo, also Yah, contracted, right? All right. Y'all got that? As the name Jew, J-E-W, or Jew, J-E-U-E, is the identical name which we pronounce So I'm not going to pronounce it again. I'm just going to say the Tetragrammaton, YHWH. And is the name given to the worshipers of Jew, Jeue. Somebody Google that, please, and paste it in the comment section so we'll know more about this Jeue. Not from their country, but from their capital God. And hence, JC, the Christ figure, was said to be a Jew, not a bloodline ascendant of the house of Yasharallah, a Jew, Judaism, i.e., a capital God. As their great ecclesiastical historian, Eusebius, yeah, that's what it is. Eusebius translates the name Hebrew, and correctly, and we see the biblical Hebrew name here, translate it one who passed over, and says that it was given to those, quote, whose religious philosophy. Now, the house of Yasharallah has the Most High's commandments, which are at their essence natural law. It is not religion. It is natural law. That's the difference. Whereas the Israelites, the Hebrews, the Jewish people, this relates to them, quote, whose religious philosophy had burst through the limits of the visible world and passed into the bosom of intellectuality and into the divine light where are invisible and hidden essences. This is a quotation or citation taken from PulPit, Volume 2, Part 2, page 239. Note the difference, scholars. They are into religion. We are to follow natural law. Hope it's clear. Next paragraph. The autopsy or transfiguration of Christ, then, though allegorically indicating the bright shining of the sun upon the allegorical genii of July and August, takes its narrative form. In other words, the story comes from, right? The story comes from, and its dialogue, the story comes from, as does the whole fable of the crucifixion. So the story of the crucifixion, right? The allegorical genii of July and August, and the witness or the autopsy or transfiguration of the Christ, all are stories in narrative form, narration of stories, okay? Including the crucifixion of the Christ, from words actually used and incidents actually represented with more or less aptness as it might be by the real Hierophant and his disciples who performed their respective parts in the mystical pantomime, which we now call gospel, but which Hierophant and his disciples were no more the persons that they represented than our players of the present day are the lowercase gods and devils and fiends and ghosts, which a fool might imagine them to be. Out of the whole glorious, that is to say, clarious or shining company of the apostles, we have found the places, relations, and phenomena in the great solar system of those disguised personifications, Peter, Judas, and Thomas. The footnote reads, the whole apostolic company will be treated of in due succession in this science. So in other words, the author is saying that they are nothing more than constellations, okay? There are constellations, their stories are told celestially. This is what the author is telling us. Next paragraph, we're on page 197. Okay, let me highlight it for y'all. Hold on, y'all. Let me check to see if there are any comments. Let's see. Let me check for comments. I'm going to read them off now. Okay, Roderick's point of view says, sounds to me like he's being sarcastic. No one has seen this glorified body, so we actually really don't know. Yes, indeed. Yashe writes, isn't Lucifer prince of the air? Gary Tucker writes, Coptics refuse to give all the real ancient sciences. The Greeks then worked with them to formulate the precursors of Christianity, using aspects, facsimiles thereof. Good point. These are some nice comments, y'all. Gary Tucker writes again, they then, over the course of many years, used this to subdue the peoples of the earth. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Gary Tucker, gospel equals good news. However, this was referring to the military conquest of General Titus. Good point. Good point. Excellent comments. Excellent comments. All right, let's get back to it. Also, if y'all haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, like and share the video if y'all haven't already. Let's see. How long have we been going, y'all? Let me see. Oh man, I'm feeling a little bit tired. Let me see. I don't know how long we've been going. Y'all, let's stop here because I've done this. This is my second presentation. The first one y'all couldn't hear. Let me end on this last paragraph. Let me read. No, let's stop at the top because we're at the top. Let me show y'all where we're at. Tomorrow we'll begin right here at the top. This is a good place to stop. We will start right here tomorrow where the highlight is. And that way I should remember because we're at the top. Sometimes when I start at the bottom, I'll wind up reading the whole page again. But anyway, let's stop right here. So thank you all for spending the afternoon with me. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope it gives you something to talk about with your friends, family, and loved ones. And I do appreciate y'all being here with me. Just as a reminder, if you haven't already subscribed, and for those of you who have subscribed to 101 Ancient Ibaryath, I want to say thank you very much, and may the Most High give you shalom. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, zionlawschool.org. You're going to learn etymology. You're going to learn how to return more effectively to your heritage, how to reclaim it, how to become independent, improve all of the things that you've been seeing here, but a lot more. And then everybody's welcome to come to our Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live online class, 506 The Curses, where we take a really, really deep dive into Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 29. We show you what's written in the Ibaryath, which is often different than what's written in English, and what you see will sometimes shock you, and it will definitely change you for the better. All right, so with that said, I want to say shalom. Reach out to me if you need to know it. Let me read some of these comments again. Gary Tucker says, in summary, a comparative study between Titus and JC will reveal some interesting things. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Any other comments that we need to take a look at? All right. Oh, by the way, if y'all want to support the work that I do through Zion Law School, subscribe 101 Ancient Ibaryath, that's a streaming course. Come on Saturday. You can enroll if you decide it's for you. Or you can buy our books. I have 7 books that I've written on the topic, okay, in the description area of this video. Or if you want, you can just give a one-time or recurring donation. The PayPal is in, I think the PayPal is in, oh, the PayPal is not in the description. So I got to put the PayPal in the description. But anyway, I'll put it there. So there's a lot of ways that you can support if you like the work that we're doing, okay? And of course, I appreciate it and we appreciate it. So I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'm going to take off now so I can get me some food. I'm hungry. All right, Shalom, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Oh, the schedule. The schedule. All times are Eastern Standard Time. All times are Eastern Standard Time. So Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Sunday, of course, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, y'all. Thanks again for sharing your afternoon with me. And I will see y'all back here tomorrow. And I'm going to try to get those links to the other books that were cited. And if I get them, I'm going to put the links in the comments tomorrow. So make sure y'all are here.